All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Muller, president of In Citizens United, and it's so awesome to have you here today. As we have been talking about all day, today is the 16th anniversary of the Citizens United ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court in January 2010. And as we all know, that decision was horrendous for our democracy. It took two really terrible ideas and it merged them together, and it said money equals speech and corporations are people. And it just put a for sale sign on our democracy. So we have been talking about this all day and about what we need to do to fix this and to reform our system. And so I am so excited because to wrap up this long day, we have the Grounded podcast crew with us, Senator Jon Tester and Maritza. We are so thrilled to have you both here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, Maritza's kind of like Cher.
Yeah, it's just
She's
one.
got one thing.
Yeah, you have
Exactly.
Maritza has one.
No.
Exactly right.
No, Maritza has a Greek name that people are smart to avoid. That's what
Yeah.
Maritza has.
That's exactly what I just did, but
That's
it made it
exactly-
seem more personal.
But it's good. Now, look, some would argue, and I would not be arguing on either side, that the Supreme Court decision on Citizens United was the worst, and it is a low bar, but it is the worst decision the Supreme Court ever made. And there's plenty of reasons for it.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I served the United States Senate before Citizens United and then after the decision. Before Citizens United, there was some functionality in the United States Senate. After Citizens United, it caused incredible paralysis. And we're seeing that paralysis go on even today. We're seeing things happening out there, and we're wondering why people aren't standing up and speaking. And I've been told by people who serve in the Senate that I've got a primary coming up. I can't do anything because if I do anything, the person running against me will be funded, and it may take me out of this job. We can argue whether it's worth that or not. We can argue whether or not the people that are serving really understand why they're serving. But the truth is, the big money in politics right now is causing a paralysis where people are afraid to do anything because they will get primaried by a person who has so much money that they can make the person getting primaried into somebody else.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. And so that decision by the Supreme Court, the two things it did was it said speech equals money and corporations are people. Both of those go against common sense because number one, corporations aren't people. And number two, what they're really saying is if you got a lot of money, you've got a loud voice. If you don't have a lot of money, you virtually don't have any voice. And so it was really a flawed decision by the court. And we're going to talk about how we can fix that, right?
Yeah, we are. And that's
Yeah.
what we're doing every day,
Yeah,
right?
right.
As,
But
working
before
to
we
fix it.
do that, what I want to ask Maritza Giorgio is
Oh, no.
you're originally from Minnesota. We've talked about that a lot on our podcast, and I won't harass you about that. But you live in Montana and have for a good number of years, probably more than the time that you spent in Minnesota.
Yeah. More. I've been here almost 23 years.
And tell me how they tried to screw it up in Montana and what Montanans did.
Oh, well, I mean, I think that, there's a lot of really rich and interesting history in Montana. But if you want to look at campaign finance reform and getting big money out of politics kind of the first time around, you should go read about the Copper Kings, because I don't know if you know about Butte, America. It's not Butte, Montana. It's Butte, America. And copper ruled, and it was the melting pot of the United States. And the copper barons, they literally bought their seats in Congress, literally with bags of cash, because back then state legislators decided who was going to the Senate. And because of that, and because of the corruption, it actually caused a change to the way we elect our senators because of what happened right here in Montana. So we've really been at the forefront of changing the system that isn't working for the people. They're trying it again, Senator. You're part of this whole transparent election initiative, or also known as the Montana Plan. And I think we should talk a little bit about that, because I know it's had some pushback in court, but I've seen so many people say this could be part of the solution. I know I hear from so many people after a Supreme Court decision, that's it, right? That's that's the decision. That's the law of the land until the Supreme Court takes it up again. But as we've seen with the Dobbs decision in Roe v. Wade, sometimes those decisions are overturned. So let's talk about the Montana plan and kind of where you see that going as far as this effort to do something about the money in politics.
Well, it's a voter initiative, and we've got to get it on the ballot, but we're working on that. And what that voter initiative do, if it passes, is it will say basically what it'll say in a much kinder way than this, that corporations aren't people and they can't donate to campaigns if you're a corporation. And it's done in a it's not even that creative a way. It's done in a way that if you're domiciled in the state of Montana, that this is part of the rules of the game, and that is that you can't give money to to politicians, to elect folks that are being elected.
Well, and it's really about like the commerce rules, right?
Yeah.
Like the rules around business instead of actually campaign reform, which is interesting.
Yep. It doesn't go through the conventional routes you would think, but the truth is that states charter corporations, and they have the ability to set the rules for those corporations, and this would set the rules for corporations, and it would be done the same way that campaigns were changed over 100 years ago in Montana. It'd be done by voter initiative, so people will be able to vote. And if people like all this money coming in the campaign, and I'll tell you something, all the time that I was a senator, I never had anybody come up to me and say, "We need more money in politics."
Yeah, can you take some more?
Well, that's like the big question. I mean, Tiffany,
I mean, even Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone agrees. Like, we need to overturn Citizens United. We want money out of politics. And I think the Montana plan is so interesting because some of what we see is that it is the states that are coming up with creative initiatives to actually begin to undo the corrupting influence of money in politics. And Montana's been at the forefront of that. I mean, obviously this initiative, but also the disclosure and transparency laws that were passed in Montana are some of the best in the country and actually did a lot.
Till the court threw them out.
Well, yes, as always, right? But we're some of the toughest in the country. And we've seen, you've seen states pass initiatives that are much farther reaching than the federal government has been willing to do, partially because states are seeing the impacts on their legislative process and policymaking as well in very real ways with these state capitals that are pretty much owned by just a few special interests, whether it's big insurance or big energy being the predominant two in the states. You see these big special interests coming in and really trying to capture a state, and states starting to push back. And so I think the Montana plan is a great one to take on the road and to try out in other places.
Yep.
And I think we have to continue to try other creative avenues as well while we keep pushing on the federal government to do their damn job.
Yep.
So Tiffany, my question, go ahead, Senator, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, oftentimes, this isn't unusual where states lead the way. Oftentimes this is the case where Washington, D.C. sees what the states are doing and goes, that's a pretty good idea. I think we ought to do that. And then it gets hold and goes. So, I mean, it is obvious to me, being in the middle of the meat grinder, so to speak, that we need to change the system. It is not making it so that, sorry. Maybe that's a little too graphic. Maybe it's too graphic.
Well, I mean, I just think that maybe you shouldn't use that joke, but yeah, okay.
But the truth is that what it's done is caused a paralysis in Washington, D.C. It has not helped the voters make better decisions when they go in the ballot box because all the money is spent trying to make the other candidate into something he's not. And it has stopped candidates from going out and doing town hall meetings and meeting with people directly and eyeball to eyeball kind of, on the ground politics that has made this country great. And so we need to fix it. And that's why End Citizens United is really important. The organization that you had, this outfit.
Look at that.
Because the truth is, it's going to take people leading the way to get this accomplished, and ECU's at the head of the bunch.
And thinking outside the box. I mean, for people who are live with us who don't know who we are, Senator Tester and I host a podcast called Grounded, and we've done, I think, 3 different episodes related to Citizens United. And they're constantly, we get so much engagement because people really do care about this. And it has, like you said, Tiffany, so much bipartisan support. And like you said, Senator, how many people say we need more money in politics? So what's the hiccup here? Like, what, when we think about how, I think it's 121 members of Congress have either introduced or co-sponsored bills to overturn this. But that's not unanimous, right? That's only 121. So I know Senator Tester was one of those when he was still in the Senate. But what's it going to take to incentivize everybody to get on board?
Yeah, I mean, right now the problem is that these issues should not be partisan, and they didn't used to be partisan, right? When we passed McCain-Feingold in 2002, that was obviously a bipartisan effort and was supported pretty equally by the two parties. And for most of our history, any type of taking on ethics or anti-corruption or getting money out of politics has been bipartisan. But right now, that's not true. Right now, these issues have become partisanized because the Republican Party thinks that they are going to win more elections by selling out to their big donors. So they are more afraid of the money that might come in against them if they try to get this money out than they are of the voters at the ballot box.
That's true. But I will say the people on the ground, the Republicans on the ground, are really tired of
Oh,
this
yeah.
money
I
politics.
agree.
It just hasn't the message hasn't filtered down to the folks in DC or up, however you wanna look into the folks in DC. And the truth is that, I think if that's why things like eyeball to eyeball conversations with your constituents is really important, because I think people are starting to realize, especially right now, especially in these times, that all this money in politics is really working against our democracy, and it's working against people's ability to make change in government and have their voices be heard.
Yeah. And I think that there is, we talk about this with the gridlock and this dysfunction and the policy gridlock that we see. This comes down to not always just the money that's flowing into the system, but the threat of the money that's flowing into the system or that could flow into the system. And it's why you see, I think sometimes people are like, well, what does money in politics have to do with my day to day life? Except that it has everything to do with folks' day to day life. It is impacting the cost of your healthcare. It's impacting whether or not we can take on gun violence. It's impacting whether or not we're addressing climate change. It's impacting whether or not we can get ACA subsidies extended. When we started this before we went live, it's impacting the ICE enforcement that we're seeing because those are private companies that are getting big money from the government to go arrest people and to house them, right? And there are contributions connected to that. So every single piece of this is connected back to the money in politics, and it's impacting people's pocketbooks. That housing, right? We've talked about this a ton in Montana and the housing prices and private companies coming in and buying up housing and driving it up for folks who actually live there. It's another place where it's actually impacting people's cost of living.
And that it doesn't and all that stuff, and it's 100% true, by the way. Everything she said,
I just want
believe it or not, is the truth. But it also doesn't take into account that a lot of these corporations that are donating to the efforts to defeat people are multinational corporations. And it is illegal for foreign countries to try to influence our elections, for foreign money to try to influence our elections. But it's being done under the guise of corporations or people.
And what's the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, doing about it?
Wow.
They can't do much because money's fungible. They can always say, well, this money came from the US, but the fact is that from a profitability standpoint, many of these corporations would not be profitable if it wasn't for the foreign dollars.
And let's talk about the Federal Election Commission. I mean, so Trump fired former FEC chair Ellen Weintraub back in February. They have not had a quorum in 9 months. They can't even meet. They can't start investigations. They can't hold anyone accountable. There is no cop on the beat, which is exactly what this administration wants, right? They started off this. It feels like forever ago because these days are dog years. But remember, he came into office and fired 17 inspectors generals whose job was to actually investigate and root out the corruption, and then took on all the independent agencies that are supposed to do the same: the FEC, the SEC, the FTC, right? We see him going after the Fed Reserve Board. So it can't even function right now, Maritza. Like, we don't even have a cop on the beat to enforce what few laws this court has left on the books.
So there's been plenty of polls out that show that I'll just say young people think that
Like me and Tiffany?
Yeah.
yeah, like you two, don't
I
think
don't think that's what you meant.
don't think that democracy works. No, much younger than you two. Don't think that democracy works. Sorry about that. Hate to be relative. And you can see that. Look, democracy has its challenges, and one of the challenges that we have today in 2026, 16 years after the Supreme Court made the decision on Citizens United, is that this decision ain't working. It ain't working for the betterment of democracy. It's not working to make sure the voices of the people are heard. It's not working for good legislation to get passed in Washington, D.C., or even at the state levels. And so hopefully we can get some things done with the encouragement of ECU, and more importantly, the people on the ground talking to their elected representatives saying, look, we've had enough of this. Maritza, how many mailers did you get in one day when in the election in 2024?
Well, the one I was telling you about, I think, was 2018. It was 2018. So 2024, I didn't do a count. But I have a picture of me holding all of the mailers I received one day. I think it was 27. 27. And that's, I mean, I think about the money that costs. I mean, if you send out Christmas cards or holiday cards, you know how much it costs to do that. And the amount.
My guess is every one of those mailers that you got, you read thoroughly and understood every one of them.
Oh, yeah. I spent probably 3 hours going through with my highlighter. I didn't just throw them away. No, I wouldn't do that.
Mailbox to the recycle bin.
But the thing is, I mean, and that's a really great point, Senator, because between the mailers, and I used to work in local TV news, and I think what it's doing, in addition to giving so much power to corporations and people with money, I think it's creating an apathy toward our election process and politics in general and just civic engagement, because people are so tired of it. And I mean, every election cycle, I would have people come up to me and say, I'm sorry, I haven't watched you lately because I just can't. There are too many ads. They're sick of the name calling. They're sick of the attack ads. They're sick of their mailboxes being clogged and the waste. And they just say, you know what? I'm done. I'm not interested. And it's just, and I would love to know, I mean, really, truly, maybe I'm totally off base here, but how many people are actually swayed by those mailers? Are there people who are swayed by those mailers, do you think?
You might be keeping track and, putting lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we'll vote for this guy. No, I don't think they sway many people at all. I mean, that's a fact. And, to put this in perspective, when I ran in 2006 for the first time for the United States Senate, that race, I had a primary, my funding, I ran against a 3-term incumbent. That whole race cost $27 million. In 2024, 18 years later, we had a general election. That was it. Me against another guy. And there was over $250 million spent in that election after Citizens United. And it resulted in all those mailers going out, or resulted in TV ads that started like a year and a half before the election cycle. So people were so mad at seeing my face. It's no wonder I lost, I mean, this the face made for beautiful things. So,
and now they're mad at me because they have to see your face even more.
It just goes on and on. It never ends. It never ends. So it's kind of the way it is. But the truth is, if we could get it so corporations were people, if we could put some more transparency on this money, so we know where it's coming from. If somebody, for example, in Montana, if somebody from Texas is trying to buy our state, we ought to know that. And the fact is, with the money being concealed, you don't know who's trying to influence the state to their benefit, not to the benefit of the people that live in that state. If we could do some of that, maybe put some caps on the amount of money people can give. And by the way, the people that give money would probably welcome that. That'd be great, because then when candidates call them up, they say, well, I already hit my cap, so I can't give any more money. It's
Well,
just,
I wonder, Senator, I mean, I think as we talk about this, you two, that so much of these issues that people want to see something done about, I think a lot of times it just requires a better understanding of how this actually affects your daily life.
yep,
And
yep.
really, really just like great storytelling, like what good news is, right? Great storytelling to actually explain to people how this affects you and how this is impacting you. And I was wondering, Senator, if you would just give us a little peek behind the curtain, because I don't think people fully understand how much of a senator's job or a House member's job goes into fundraising and raising the money. And I've just read a recent Substack post that was lengthy, but it was talking about all of the reasons why we're not seeing so much pushback. And it said Congress is a sales job, not a governing job, because a member of Congress is a full-time fundraiser who votes part-time. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I would say we
I
spend
would.
way too
Okay.
much time. We spend way you would. We spend way too much time focused on campaigns and raising money. And that time isn't spent, going out and meeting with people and talking to the press and letting people know where you stand, letting the press ask questions that they want, letting the press do their job so that people who you represent understands where you're at on an issue. Greenland is a prime example. I can't help to think that the people of Montana probably think that, taking over Greenland probably isn't the best idea when we have all the military operations we want there. But if your elected officials say that and you don't know that they're advocating for that, what are you supposed to do about it? And that's the problem. The problem is that you're not getting the kind of response from your candidates, from your elected officials, I should say, that you need to have because, by the way, they can buy their message.
Yeah.
If they've got enough money, they can buy it. They don't need to go out and answer the questions. They can determine what they want that message to be and they can buy it, whether they represent that message or not. And that's really it really goes against what democracy is all about.
You know, I
Sorry.
no,
No, you disagreed with me.
I barely,
Okay.
That's
barely.
okay.
I would barely.
Disagreement's allowed.
I mean, kind of.
No, not when I'm talking, okay? Only when Tiffany's talking.
Oh, great.
Work for me.
Oh, that's right.
On the House side, this is particularly true. If someone is elected and they come in and they're in a swing district, a tough district, right? The day they get there, even before they're sworn in, right? They're doing the orientation. They are told you need to do at least 30 hours of call time every single week,
Ooh.
right?
30 hours?
Ah,
This is why I disagreed with you.
okay, well, that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'll concede. You were right. I was
30 hours of call time every single week just to fundraise for their next reelection, which means that time comes out of
Yeah.
time that should be being spent doing things like sitting in committee hearings, actually learning about the bills, meeting with constituents, developing legislation, getting to know your other House members, maybe forming relationships even across the aisle. The things that used to make up this job of being a member of Congress, now it is run in and vote and run back out, and you're either going to a fundraiser or you're back on the phones, right? It is a miserable job, too. Like, I actually believe most people run because they care about our country. They want to make a difference. I really do. But then the system that they're put into is so broken that they can't make any of those changes or have that influence because all they're doing is stuck on the phone making call after call after call. So actually, I do agree with you. I think it's like an almost full-time job of just raising money with a part-time job of actually legislating. And it's why you see just so much brokenness in the system. It's a little bit different.
There's no doubt the system is broken. There is just there's no
That's right. Agree with
argument
me
here.
again.
No, there's no argument. This is broken. And if you're spending 30 hours a week on a phone in a room the size of a phone booth making phone calls to people you don't know, it's taken away from your time to making policy. It's taken away from your time to actually do the work that you were elected
And
to
it's
do.
definitely taken away your joy or happiness of that
Right.
life.
It sounds
Built to live.
terrible. Oh,
It
it sounds terrible. But
And
I
also,
think-
when you are spending that much time talking to donors, it influences what you think people are thinking about
What
out
they
in the
think's
country,
important.
right?
Yeah.
right.
Uh,
Not
we-
real people.
we heard a lot more when you're on the phone with big donors. You'll hear a lot more about cap gains tax than you will the 30-year mortgage.
Carried interest.
You'll hear more. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I do think, though, there are, like, we talked about the Montana plan, but Tiffany, talk about some other glimmers. One of the glimmers that I saw in the last year was the Wisconsin Supreme Court race that Elon Musk, what did he put into that? He put in
$20
$20 million.
Dumped a bunch of money into the Louisiana Senate race.
And
Crazy.
I mean, he literally was auctioning off, rallying off like $1 million giveaways. Tester's interrupted.
Boy.
Oh boy.
Did you hear that?
Wouldn't be a call with Tester without his phone ringing.
Yeah. Gene Shaheen. No.
Yeah. Is it a senator? You can answer it if it's a senator.
It's opposite of a senator. Mr. Soapman. Mr. Soapman. You know who that is.
I do know who that is. Sorry, inside joke.
Back on this.
Okay, all right.
Pull you back.
All right. Okay.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about Elon Musk trying to buy the Wisconsin Supreme Court race.
He dumps $20 million into the Wisconsin state Supreme Court race in order to try to flip control of the Wisconsin state Supreme Court. And he literally was out there auctioning off $1 million checks saying, if you vote, you'll get $1 million, which one is illegal.
It's illegal.
And two, the Wisconsin Supreme Court
But when you got no
up.
cops on the beat,
No cops on the
going to
beat.
reverse the law.
And the Wisconsin State Supreme Court races have consistently been very, very close elections, like decided within a point or two. This was a blowout. The Wisconsin voters said, we are done with this outside interference. They lost, the Republican side lost by like 11 points or something, right? And now what we see is he's trying to do it again. I mean, you just talked about it. He's dumping money into the Louisiana race. He's talked about other money he's going to dump into the midterms. And I think that we know there's going to be just a ton of money flooding into these midterms. But I actually really have some hope about that we are seeing a wave of reformers, folks who are running on these messages, who are centering them. We started a thing called Unrig Washington campaign. It's 3 really simple common sense things. It is ban stock trading, because if you're in Congress, you shouldn't be lining your own pockets off of insider information. It is no corporate PAC money, because your voters should know who you're answering to. And it's in dark money. It's make sure we know where the money's coming from, disclosure and transparency. And there's already over 125 candidates running on that and centering that. And they are going to bring that momentum in with them when we flip the House so that we can actually get some real reforms.
So if you get a chance, the folks who are out there listening, to talk to your candidates who are running, ask them where they're at on these issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important. By the way, I think the stock trading ban ought to even go further. I think they ought to divest all the stocks they have too.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, then you're clean as a whistle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We see it actually poll the highest of everything that we poll on and do research on. It is the one that just like across the board, again, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it does not matter. This has over 85% support across the board because everyone knows it's
called common sense.
It is called common sense.
When
there's some of that, not much of it, but
no,
some of it.
Yeah, it's a hard commodity to find.
Well, I think, all signs point to promising movement, I think, on this. I mean, it's hard to believe, though. 16 years it's been, and you can see it anytime you turn on the TV during a campaign cycle, anytime you get your mail.
Yep.
So
miserable, but we can fix it.
We can fix it. We're gonna fix it. So how do we leave the people with some hope about fixing it?
Yeah. What
folks who are running? The folks who are running, you got to ask them about these questions about campaign finance, the stock form, for caps. The list is long.
There's lots we can do.
Do you send out a newsletter?
We do send out a newsletter. So you should everyone who's watching, go to democracy.news and subscribe to our Substack. Also go to Grounded and subscribe to these two's podcast. I mean, it's not as good, but you should do it.
We don't mind being second.
We don't mind. Yeah, we'll take second place,
Okay.
Tiffany. That's fine. I also
Thank-
think it's really important to not just, we do a lot of social media posting and that has a purpose, but having these conversations with people in your life, asking them, like educating yourself about these things, bring the facts, make sure you have the facts correct, make sure you know what you're talking about, and go talk to people in your life and say, did you know about this? Did you
Yeah.
know how much money we spent last year? And then when you think about, helping our unhoused communities, helping our veterans, helping solve childhood hunger, helping solve all of these other issues, healthcare, and we see the amount of money put into just political advertising and
Yeah.
political campaigns when all that money could actually be helping people. I think that's what we also need to demand, is that we incentivize people like Elon Musk to start putting big money into these other issues and making sure people are educated about what is happening.
Yeah, and I'm going to do one more selfish plug,
Yeah.
which is also go to incitizensunited.org and join us, learn more about us. We have 4 million members across the country, but we need people, right? Like, I think the only thing more powerful than the money and the big checks in our democracy is the people in our democracy.
Well said.
So,
well said.
oh, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hey, look at that. He gave you a compliment.
I,
Yeah.
there's been like 3 of them on this. I don't
Yeah.
know what's happened. I'm a little worried.
I've been up since 3 a.m. this morning.
He's still,
Yeah,
that's
starting
it.
to fade. It's starting to fade, It's all good.
He's got sleep deprivation and he's
Yes,
being nice.
that's it.
He's being nice. That's great. We'll take it. Let's make him more tired. That's good.
We will. We will.
Thanks. Thank you, Tim.
No. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, you two, for joining me today.
Absolutely, and just keep in mind that there's a lot of things you can do. If you just, do a little Googling on, money and politics and, sign up, read some newsletters, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to folks you go to church with, talk to folks you work with, because the truth is, this helps everybody if we can get this money and campaigns under control. It helps everybody. It even helps businesses, believe it or not.
Yep.
In a big, big way, especially Main Street businesses.
All right. Well, it was great to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and see you next time.
Tally-o.
Thanks all. Bye.